Motivation and Learning, a presentation by Ashley Sadler, Emily MacNiven, Hannah Wold, and Matthew Rice. Motivation is the amount of energy that an individual puts into accomplishing something. Key words of motivation include, I want to, I will, you watch, I'll give it my best. Motivation has a direct impact on how an individual learns. The purpose of this Pecha Kucha is to explore motivation and learners. According to Angela Lee Duckworth, grit is the passion and perseverance that a human being exhibits for long-term goals. It is the stamina of an individual. The affects are an emotional response that individuals have in a given situation. The affects of motivation are normally far-reaching because they increase or decrease an individual's energy level, determine the persistence in reaching a specific goal, affect the types of learning techniques used, and influence an individual's thinking processes. Cognitive factors that our group discusses are self-efficacy, mindsets, reflection, and goal setting. Self-efficacy is knowing that you can achieve something. It's a personal judgment about one's own abilities. Mindsets refer to entity theory, which is fixed. We are what we are born with. Or incremental theory. We have the ability to work hard and achieve more. That's growth. Reflection and goal setting help change behaviors. It allows learners to revisit things that may have interested them and can change habits of mind. You have just heard a general overview about motivation factors. Next, we will discuss how these apply to our professional practice. Ashley will describe motivation factors throughout the lens of a principalship. Emily will detail telemental health resources and therapeutic interventions. Hannah will talk about motivation for ELs in the elementary setting. And finally, Matthew will describe motivating teachers on educating themselves on the topic of non-conforming educators who transitioned in the classroom. We will have brief concluding remarks to follow.
Motivation is a concept that applies to every facet of education. There are many qualities that impact motivation, and together they have a synergistic effect, which can sometimes make it hard to drill down on one single item that might influence motivation in others the most. We will attempt to provide a holistic picture of motivation by looking at grit, affect, and cognitive factors. Grit within the educational setting can be directly linked to an individual's capacity to achieve goals such as succeeding on a difficult assessment, successfully completing a complex project, persevering through peer conflict, and longer-term goals like earning a high school diploma and becoming ready for college or the workforce. Grit is the ingredient that promotes the longevity for motivation. Affect within the educational setting can be directly linked to motivation, as individuals develop mindsets based on their response to their emotions. Because affect is so complexly intertwined among many factors, sometimes affect can also create a block in motivation. Assessing affect through a tool such as the ARCS-V model can offer an opportunity to address specific components of affect. Cognitive factors are again a multifaceted component of motivation. Cognitive factors include interests such as personal and situational, values, and beliefs and benefits that students may possess that impact their motivation. Cognitive factors also include goals and how goals for achievement, social goals, career goals, or mastery versus performance goals impact a student's motivation. If we drill down now and look at how learning and motivation simultaneously impact each other in the classroom and explore the opportunity that tiered intervention presents to expand on the development of motivation while considering how professional development can promote inclusivity and looking at the principalship as an opportunity to enhance collective motivation, we can get a holistic picture of how motivation impacts the field of education. Learning promotes change. Motivation influences the learning process. By gaining a deeper understanding of the many layers associated with the development of motivation, educators will become more effective as they design instruction, create opportunities for intervention, and engage with students, teachers, and families within their unique roles in the educational setting.
So now we're going to move into motivation through the lens of the principalship. The problem of practice is around veteran principals, so 5 years or more, who are at the elementary level and engaged in professional learning. We know that the principalship is one of the most important positions at the school level. We also know that there's a connection between a principal's professional learning, their grit, their ability to set goals, and self-efficacy. Perseverance or grit is a quality that's needed for a principal to maintain their motivation through professional learning, especially those principals that have been in the role for a considerable amount of time. Those are the ones we consider our veteran principals. There are obstacles and barriers that may sometimes be in our way, but we have to continue to look at our path and know what our goals are. And we can see that there's some perseverance with this person who removed every single seat. It is absolutely essential that a principal, a school leader, understands their own emotional intelligence and how they are showing up in this space of affect, which relates to motivation. A dysregulated person or leader cannot regulate others. So being in tune to those motivational factors are essential in their journey as a school leader. There's been a considerable amount of research on self-efficacy, and specifically with principals. Those principals who have a higher sense of self-efficacy are found to be more willing to pursue their goals in the face of obstacles. So this sense of being able to know that you can do something and you can achieve is highly important in the realm of motivation, and especially for our school leaders.
The expanded school mental health model is a theoretical framework that approaches the myriad of factors that contributes to students' motivation for personal regulation, development, and academic achievement, or on the contrary, the factors that block such development by providing universal social-emotional instruction and targeted Tier 2 and Tier 3 intervention for identified students by integrating community resources outside of the school. Universal social-emotional instruction has the capacity to develop the disposition of grit. Targeted Tier 2 and Tier 3 therapeutic intervention can expand on this development. However, it is also important for a student to come ready to these interventions with a specific amount of grit in place so that they are able to sustain through the therapy process when the work gets challenging. Affect speaks to a student's response to feelings and emotions. Feelings and emotions can be developed based on how a student perceives themselves, their value, and their belonging within their community. Setting goals with students in Tier 2 and Tier 3 therapeutic intervention has the capacity to increase a student's feelings of self-worth and value, and therefore increase their motivation. Cognitive behavioral therapy is an example of a Tier 3 therapeutic intervention that can be offered within the school setting through a community partnership. Cognitive behavioral therapy has been widely demonstrated as an effective modality for improving students' motivation to choose new behavior patterns as they learn to monitor their thinking and identify their feelings, which lead them to their behavior choices.
Motivation is an essential factor that influences learning. Due to the rise of immigration in the United States, educators have also seen a rise in English language learners, or ELLs. My POP focuses on increasing the academic achievement of ELLs. Multiple components of motivation need careful consideration in order to promote academic achievement of ELs. These components are grit, affect, and having a growth mindset. In a study by Bance and Palacios in 2018, grit and EL status were found to be the two primary factors of 4th and 5th grade Latinos. Using a data set where N equaled 3,272, results show that there is a significant relationship between students' perceived care and control. This means many ELs just need care and control in order to access their disposition of grit. Let's be gritty about getting our kids grittier, said one smart mind. According to a mixed methods study by Technim in 2012, digital storytelling increased behavioral affects and motivation by tracking 5th grade students' learning attitudes and reading comprehension in a second language. In this study, students worked together to tell stories. Some stories were autobiographical. Students learned how to make connections with their classmates and rely on each other in positive ways. This increased student behavior and academic performance in this storytelling area, and it was a big success. One cognitive factor to explore among ELs is whether or not they have a growth or fixed mindset. ELs need a growth mindset in order to learn and develop a second language. They must have a belief that they are capable of the hard work and learning required to succeed. According to Mercer and Ryan, one way in which learners can develop a particular mindset is through interactions with the teacher or feedback. Another way is through discussing learner beliefs explicitly and teaching learners how to develop a growth mindset, like applying the word yet at the end of statements of accomplishment.
IPOP may be, for most leaders in education, another way we're called to support people who have experiences we may not share. MyPop will examine the experiences of pre-K through 12 trans and gender nonconforming educators who transitioned in the classroom. Careful consideration of the experiences of trans educators will guide design and professional development that's mindful of the influence of motivation to help move learning communities closer to equity and support acceptance and inclusion of trans and gender nonconforming teachers. Trans and gender nonconforming people certainly exhibit grittiness in the face of marginalization, discrimination, and abuse they face not just in the world at large, but especially in school settings. Teachers are also some of the most gritty, tenacious people on earth. Sadly, trans people have not experienced equity and inclusion in the educational workplace, and it will take tenacity and no small sprinkling of grace to move learning communities towards equity for trans and gender nonconforming people. Teaching is both individual and collective. To reach peak effectiveness, in addition to grit, teachers need a sense of belonging and success to bolster their motivation. When designing professional learning towards equity, you have to consider the individual, their confidence, happiness, and openness to learning about how loving our differences makes us all stronger. Relatedness and belonging is something we all deserve. A learning community that embraces trans and gender nonconforming teachers as valuable members can extend that sense of belonging and support to everyone. Teacher affect and beliefs influence how they embrace diversity in their learning communities. Beliefs change slowly, so including goal setting and reflective processes for tracking progress towards those goals can help your teachers grow towards equity for all. By engaging in critical reflection, teachers can examine their role and their assumptions and recognize aspects of dominant cultural values that may impact their work with students and colleagues alike.
Happy teachers, happy school. Happy school, happy leaders. How we get to happy is complicated. Motivation is such a multifaceted concept in education. But motivation has such transformative power. Whether you're leading professional learning for school leadership, services to support mental health as a catalyst to change behavior, success for our linguistically diverse, or learning to support our most vulnerable, motivation is key. Motivation applies to every facet of education, and no one single element is the key. Travers shares the value of reflection and accountability in achieving goals, but no matter if you are weaving in grit, mindset, affect, or cognitive factors, always remember to draw from sources of your strength and share your light.
During our brief time together, you've had the chance to explore the impact of motivation on school principals, mental health, ELLs, and teachers. The context around motivation grows and expands as we grow. What initially motivated, let's say, the teacher to enter the education field may shift as they learn and develop. Goals take shape. They become more refined and push us as we seek to become better versions of ourselves. Next time you interact with a school leader, or it could be your child's teacher, or you could have an interaction with a student who's learning English, find out ways that you can motivate them. What are their goals? How are they demonstrating grit? What is the affect that they're showing? It could be that you are the one person who ignites the fire that helps them continue on their goals. Be that fire, be that spark.